next guest, Kyle Daigle, is a Chief Operating Officer at GitHub. He's a long timer there since 2013. He scaled the ecosystem, led the SAML and NPM deals, and he drives org-wide AI adoption for more than 3,000 hubbers. He's a developer at heart and like an engineering-first mindset, and he's gonna talk how we're going beyond autocomplete, developers, agents, and the future of building together. Please welcome Kyle on stage. Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. How are you? Oh, come on. Hello, how are you? There we go. Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. Like you said, my name's Kyle Daigle. I'm the COO of GitHub. I've had the pleasure of being at GitHub for 12 years. I joined as a developer myself, and now I have responsibility for a lot more of the business and helping all of our employees, which we call Hubbers, be successful. It's my first time in Romania, home of the tricolors, so thank you for having me. And if you ask me, Europe as a whole is home to some pretty legendary teams, some legendary franchises. And while I'm an enormous nerd, and so I didn't really grow up with sports day to day, I was obsessed with teams. Not because of the awards, the trophies, the championships, but the way that as humans, we come together to tackle some pretty enormous problems, whether they be in the office, on the pitch, or anywhere around the world. So think about some of the greatest teams of all time, like FC Barcelona. This team dominated European football, but they didn't just play the game, they elevated each other. Now, what about Team Mercedes in Formula One? Their dominance wasn't just about Lewis Hamilton. It was the finely tuned operation, the engineers, the pit crews, and the strategists all moving as one. And of course, there's FC Bayern Munich. They achieved a historic treble, a group of individual stars that were made unstoppable by how they all worked together. It's this fusion of teamwork and problem solving that's captivated me for years. People swarming around a single issue or a single opportunity, working towards that same goal. And for me, after some years in fintech at a startup, it's that curiosity that brought me to GitHub back in 2013. I joined GitHub because I wanted to work somewhere that saw that the greatest innovations don't come from lone geniuses. They come from communities, they come from teams. It's what kept me there for 12 years, from the Microsoft acquisition to more community-focused ships like GitHub Sponsors, and of course, GitHub Copilot. I'll admit that the longer you stay in a single place, the more the problems start to find you, and not the other way around. But the real question becomes, who are you going to solve those problems with? And at GitHub, I found that team, a mission. And now there's a community of over 150 million developers around the world. And that belief in collaboration, that you can't just do it all on your own, runs deep in absolutely everything we do. You see it in open source, where millions of developers build on top of each other every single day. You see it in enterprise teams, shipping and building faster together. And now you see it in what's destined to be one of the greatest advancements of our time, which is AI, humanity's newest teammate. The idea of a teammate, an AI collaborator, couldn't have come at a more urgent time, because let's be honest, the problems that developers are solving every day are bigger than any one person, any one company, any one startup. They're complex, they're interconnected, and they're simply growing at a faster pace than we can keep up with. You're not just writing code. You're deploying across multiple systems, probably to multiple clouds and to the edge. Some of you are modernizing legacy systems and dealing with tech debt in languages that were launched the same year that Barbie hit store shelves. You're in a constant sprint to keep up with new libraries, frameworks, and languages, all while managing flaky tests, dealing with security vulnerabilities, and fixing bugs at every single step. In the world, it's looking at you, your bosses, your teams. They're looking at all of us to solve some of these enormous challenges: climate change, healthcare inequity, education gaps. And these aren't isolated issues, right? They're shared challenges that go across borders, across industries and generations. And more than ever, the weight of solving these are going to software developers. The point is, you're building the systems that society depends on. And there are simply more problems than there are developers. And every day, the gap between what we need to build and what we have capacity to do gets wider. No one has ever said their backlog was clear. This isn't a tooling problem, right? This is a human one. We don't need more tabs, we need more time. We don't just need faster coders, we need better partners. We need a new kind of teammate as quickly as we can, not to replace us, but to work alongside us, to help us move faster, to focus deeper, and to build what we urgently need. And that brings me to GitHub Copilot. It's hard to believe, I think it was actually 2 days ago, it was the 4th birthday of GitHub Copilot when we initially showed it to the world. This was created by a small team of developers across 7 different time zones in the midst of the pandemic. And we launched it as a little engine that could. For us, it was a symbol of hope and a promise of what AI could bring to software development. But honestly, we had a very simple goal: to make developers' lives easier with an AI pair programmer that helps them write better code. The name was very specific when we launched it, and now it's very prolific. But we chose it because we wanted to name it as a tool that doesn't replace the developer, but rather empower them. And quickly, before we could even blink, that promise has been realized. It's there to take that toil away. Vlad was talking about solving hard problems. AI has been pretty good at solving repetitive, boring problems that when you look at them, you know exactly how to implement the login form for the 100th time in your career. You can take that away, so that way you can focus on what humans are innately great at, and that's invention and creation. You can focus on what makes you most excited about your day-to-day, and that's using code to push the boundaries of what's possible. But we know that Copilot, when it launched, was really just the beginning. Because when we look at adoption across our community, it isn't just an add-on, it's a real sidekick. It's a peer helping you ship faster, catch bugs, and continue that focus on what matters most. All while keeping developers, the true heroes, at the core. And so that's why we've kept tinkering and building. Not in pursuit of one more developer tool, but a better teammate, a partner that's always there, working in the background and adapting on the fly to help you push further. And so I'm proud to say the GitHub Copilot coding agent is the next evolution. It's embedded right inside of your GitHub workflow, ready to take on those tasks that are small and are probably going to slow you down. You can assign a task or an issue to Copilot. It runs in the background, and it submits a pull request to you just like another developer or a junior developer on your team might do. It can add features, it can fix bugs, it can write documentation, but it's always better just to show you, so I'm going to show you a quick demo. So we have a demo app here that lets the community put leftover food to use and reduce food waste across local neighborhoods. It's good so far, but one of the team members has an idea to add an interactive map to the app, and they've scoped that out in this issue. Now, I'm pretty busy, but I wanted to get this implemented, so I go and I assign this issue to Copilot. And the coding agent behind the scenes creates a draft PR and starts working on the issue on my behalf in the background. Now, I can continue working on other tasks like ideating on a new structure for the backend architecture, reviewing a PR from another person, or more likely than not in the summer, trying to keep my kids busy while they're home from school. But after a few minutes, I can see that Copilot has updated the description of my PR, and it's showing all the changes it's made, pushed a few commits, and finally, it's also requested a review from me before it's even run CI, so that way I remain in control of this process. Now, it's made changes across multiple files inside of this repository autonomously. And so this is all what's necessary to accomplish that task that I originally spec'd out in the issue. So I can go and fetch these changes locally and run the app to see the changes that have been made. So I'm still in control. I can use whatever tool I want to do this, make other changes as I view them to be needed. And of course, we can see our listings page again, and now there's a beautiful maps functionality that was entirely written by the Copilot coding agent. Now, Copilot's not going to succeed on every single task that you give it, but with a well-scoped out task, you can get pretty far with something like the coding agent. So this kind of starts to move us from this idea of AI being a pair programmer, someone that's sitting with me on my keyboard, and a little bit more to a peer programmer. The idea that I can give it a task like I would a friend or a colleague, and I may need to work with them and coach them and give feedback, but it's letting me continue to be more productive and focus on the pieces that I'm most interested in. Now, having a good teammate isn't just about showing up. It's about showing up with the right context. And so let's talk about another excellent team. Usually we talk about Batman and Robin, but we're going to talk about Batman and Alfred. Batman's in the action, right? But Alfred, he understands the mission. He has the tools and the history that's necessary. It's that context that helps him show up thoughtfully in every single situation. And that's what our latest preview feature is trying to do, called Copilot Spaces. Spaces lets you choose exactly what information you want Copilot to have access to ask questions and help you solve problems. And so you can drop in folders, docs, link to issues, pull requests, and define exactly what Copilot should pay attention to. It can ingest code, design files, support tickets, absolutely any text that you pointed at, and it treats that as your space. So the best part is you can then take that space and share it with your team. You can spin up a space, grant it to your organization, and suddenly everyone is on the same page as you with the same information. And Copilot becomes an information funnel, surfacing specific suggestions and PRs that are tailored to you. And so while it's still early, we're testing and using this ourselves at GitHub, so I want to show you a few examples. One example is a DevOps assistant space. We frequently hear this from customers and users. How do I code here? How do I deploy here? And so we can build a space that provides those insights and example code to developers about how to do your work here. Now, it's grounded in context that you've provided it across code files, docs covering CI, container orchestration, and infrastructure. And just like Copilot on github.com, you also have multi-model choice. So if you want to use a thinking model or a reasoning model, you could choose that to potentially get yourself a better result. And the ability to share the space with the rest of the organization helps you centralize context and quickly scale expertise. There's always the one person that can do something that's critically important for your team and maybe they're not in the right time zone. Well, now you can do that and share it with just a few other folks. The thing that I do that I really love is I have a repo where I keep kind of like all my snippets in and notes from when I meet with people. And then I can put that in a space and remind myself how to do something. I also know developers that put their dot files into a space. And again, ask, given what you know about how I use in my local infrastructure, ask a question about development. Now, A developer can ask Copilot in a space around these app deployment practices, principles, constraints, and Copilot is there to help them get a response that's tailored specifically to them. Now, this is just one example of how we're using spaces, and it's a developer example. But we're also seeing it across a variety of teams. So, for example, Chris, a member of the team who actually are building spaces, wanted to build a space to help hubbers understand what this tool actually is. The responses were trained on scripts and docs that he and the team have written over time. And so now someone on the communications team or a non-technical person could go in and say, well, how does spaces handle partial context, for example? And they can get a precise answer in seconds while that expert is still working on their day-to-day code. So Chris, in this example, isn't getting bogged down on answering the same question over and over again. They can focus on what matters. And for Chris, that's getting spaces in the hands of all of you. So with GitHub Copilot Agent and Copilot Spaces, we're trying to build a better way for you all to work with AI that's helpful and not something that's added on or one shot and doesn't work. It's a more efficient way for your teams to collaborate while staying focused on what's most important. But here's the secret sauce. After everything I showed you, what makes Copilot truly powerful ultimately isn't AI itself. It's the team that it's on. That includes you, the developer. You're the foundation. You're bringing the spark. You're bringing the nuance, the humanity, and Copilot only shines a light on how you and your team are already working. It's helping you see where you're strong and how you can move even faster. It's not just you and Copilot going it alone. You're backed by the power of the GitHub platform, 150 million developers who are building and collaborating on the world's software, tackling some of humanity's biggest challenges together. And to be fair, developers in open source were already a force to be reckoned with before Copilot. Together, we captured some of the pictures of the first pictures of the black hole, a variety of Python projects. Thanks to our friends at NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab, the JPL, and over 12,000 open source contributors who had no idea they were a part of this work, we put a helicopter on Mars that did over 70 flights. And we came together to preserve the world's open source software for future generations in the GitHub's Arctic Code Vault, right before the pandemic started. And at the time, I was doing press and talking about this project, and everyone was saying, well, what could possibly happen in the world that would be so distracting and terrible? And unfortunately, we lived through it pretty quickly. And right down the street, where the seed vault is located, they also had to do some withdrawals during this period of time. And so this is all powered by some of the folks in the room. I know there are folks in the room that have the Arctic Code Vault and the helicopter badges in their GitHub profile. And so if you ask me, we were already pretty badass as developers before AI came into the picture. But developers, coupled with AI and Copilot and the GitHub platform, that is a dream team if I've ever seen one. It's better than some of the teams that we've seen before, and it's making each of our individual software teams better and better. And it's this team, this developer team, that's standing on the edge of something extraordinary. I really mean that. This moment that we're living through, and we're learning, and we're trying, and we're practicing, and not always getting it right, but we keep coming back to it. This is the moment where we're changing the fabric of what's possible together. We're living in it now. Our children will be talking about it later. And it's this team that's on the edge of something extraordinary, this moment of enormous transformation. And we're seeing the lines blur between who is and isn't a developer. For the first time, we're seeing teachers, designers, analysts, people with an idea step into the arena. We've called them citizen developers before. I'm not really sure it matters what we name folks, but they're coming in an attempt to learn and build and create with all of us together. They're building alongside developers and engineers powered by AI at each step to bring those visions to life. Education is racing to keep up. transforming not just what we teach, but how each of us learns, how we build, and who gets to participate. And quickly, the old barriers to entry of needing to get a degree or needing to be in the right place in the world or needing to be at the right time are quickly fading away. The future of software is up for grabs. And it's up for anyone with the curiosity and drive to solve a real problem, whether it's scaling some global systems that you're working on, or building tools for your classroom, or automating a single light at home. It's what I was spending my weekend on before I flew out here. The opportunity is in your hands. And we're going to do it together, every single one of you. From the enterprise dev to the maintainer to the startup, everywhere around the world, we have one goal. Give developers the tools, the support, and the assistance to go big, to go faster, and to go together. Because we believe this future is for all of us. We want to have the biggest team in the biggest team sport of software development. Not everyone will be pro. Most probably won't even be pro-am. But a world where anyone who wants to create software has that within their reach. A world where anyone, anywhere can go from an idea to reality with code. And where professional developers can move faster, go further, and help bring better software to customers, users, and the world. So when you strip away all the hype and the noise of AI, of whether you're in or you're out or you're using it or not, the possibilities that we're seeing right now still haven't been this exciting in such a long time. And when we work together, when we combine that human creativity with AI's tireless support and the power of this global community, there's absolutely no limit to what we can build. And that's the future that we're shaping together, one line of code at a time. So thank you so much for having me, and let's build from here together. Thanks.